Hello, and welcome to the Rainy Day Podcast. I'm your host, Jack Stone, and today we are joined by nobody. It's just me today. Didn't book any guests. I thought, it's episode 10. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus. Let's take this time to look back at the past, what we've accomplished, what we've done, and let's just take a little bit of load off, a little bit of a relaxed episode today. Episode 10, Spectacular. Episode 10, Relax Spectacular. Excellent. Well, so we've taken a little bit of a hiatus. It's been a couple weeks, and probably about 2 weeks, but we're on episode 10, maybe double digits finally. In the future, I have big things planned for the future. Really do. Looking on in the future, there's definitely more guests I want to get on, more singles, more doubles. I'm really interested in getting individuals on, and really kind of delving deep into their mind. Because I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but I've been trying to get groups of people on, some friends, maybe it's 2, 3, sometimes 4 people. I had 4 people on at one point. That was pretty crazy. And the reason I do this is because this is a little bit different. This isn't people don't really do this. People don't really do podcasts. People don't really, do interviews or whatever. Or really just sit down with somebody because, I've loved all the people that I've had on. Great, amazing, really, really good people, but majority of them haven't been like my best friends. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't hang out with these guys every single day for, a year. Not because I wouldn't, but we just don't. And that's really what I was trying to achieve. I was really trying to achieve something where, um, I was getting different people, different perspectives, different ideologies, different looks, different hooks. And I think we're doing pretty good. But because it's different, because I'm a little bit of a stranger, I'm kind of like the guy in the alley that's kind of trying to sell you crack. But my crack is entertainment, and you are addicted. Well, so the reason I've been doing that though is because I want people to come on and I want people to feel comfortable because I really, really want this time. But 35, 40 minutes about just talking, conversation, and the conversation could either be good or the conversation could either be bad. You could be boring, it could be bored, it could be whatever. And I think a big factor in that is comfort. And so if you're coming on with just, this ugly mug, you know, breathing down your neck and asking you questions in your ear, you're gonna be like, oh, I don't know. But if your best buddy's right there, chatting away, it's a little more relaxed, a little more comfortable. But, as this thing, uh, the hope with this thing was to gain a little bit more validity and, you know, kind of make it a thing. Not It's not really a thing, but whatever. Make it a thing. Let's just say make it a thing. And people would be comfortable to come on. Oh, you come on the podcast. You're gonna get interviewed. That's just what happens. It's okay. That's what happens. We're learning a thing. We're learning something in psychology right now called the bystander effect, and it's essentially imagine that there's a man on the street and he's lying down and you don't really know what happened. You just walk by and you see him lying down. Maybe he's sleeping, maybe he's homeless, maybe he fell down, maybe he's unconscious, maybe he's dead. Who knows? But that's the kind of thing. Nobody knows. And nobody's helping him up. You're just walking by him, seeing what's going on. But nobody's gonna stop. Nobody's gonna stop by, ask the guy what's up, ask if he needs help. Because you think in your mind, well, it's somebody else's problem. I don't want it to be my problem. Someone else will take care of it. Whatever. This happened in I think it was the 70s, maybe the 60s. There was a woman in an alley and directly under a giant apartment building, and she was being stabbed. She was being murdered. She was being stabbed to death by just a psychopath or whatever. And there was not one, two. There was 37 people looking out their window watching this murder go down. And they all watched it go down. They all watched the guy, stab her repeatedly. She screamed for help. She screamed for the police. Then he walked away, and then about 5 minutes later, he he came back and he killed and he kept stabbing her. And all 37 people didn't do anything. They all watched. Nobody called the police. Nobody even yelled. Nobody even opened the door to go see if she was okay afterwards. Because they all thought in their minds, well, there's 37. There's whatever. There's 40 of us. Someone has to have called the police. Someone else is definitely gonna stop it. Well, if no one else is stopping it, that's probably not that big of a deal. Well, it's probably not. You see where the problem goes. It's someone else's problem, someone else's fault. Not my circus, not my monkeys. But hopefully over time, it really only takes one or two people to step in and say, hey, stop murdering that woman. Listen, we all, you know, got our hobbies, but let's try to do this somewhere like, somewhere else. But that's what I've been trying to get to with this podcast, trying to make it a little bit of a thing, a little bit of a place people come and chat and talk and you know whatever. Maybe throw it on. You're doing homework. Throw it on. You're working out. Whatever, 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 whatever. Nobody cares about all this. Oh, 6 minutes of nonsense. 6 minutes of nonsense. Whatever. Let's get into the dirt. Let's get into the real business. So we've had some phenomenal guests on the podcast so far. 9 phenomenal episodes filled with phenomenal guests. First one was Nico. Of course, was Nico. Oh boy, you can't start anything off without starting off with him. He's what a great kid. Just a fun kid to hang out with, a good kid to chat with, and all along just a good person. Probably one of the worst episodes. Ugh, probably one of the worst episodes. You know, absolutely my fault. Absolutely my fault. I gave him no direction. Gave him no. The questions I was asking him were stupid. Completely 100% my fault. Looking back on it, I think I would do the episode differently. But it was a fun time. Some goofs, some gaffs, some love, some laughs, and all around, like I can't complain. I can't complain. The next episode was episode 2 with Sam Blake and Pat Caveney. Oh, what a stellar episode! This was the episode where I really opened my eyes, and I really figured out, wow, this people are smart, man. People are crazy. People have a different experience. Not even like, I wear blue shoes and he wears red shoes, but like I was born in America and he was born in another continent. The stories those guys are telling me and the beliefs. Sam was talking all about his religion, and that was super interesting. And I'm not really coming from that world. I think it's stuff's really interesting, but it's not exactly my cup of tea. But the way he spoke about it was the way I speak about stuff I like, and it was interesting to see. And Pat's stories obviously were really interesting too. And so the next episode was episode 3 with old Matty Seuss and Francis Kelly. And oh boy, I this was probably the most expensive episode because I had to go out afterwards and buy another pair of pants because I legitimately shit a brick laughing. Oh my god, it was the funniest thing I've ever heard. Those two kids made me pee my pants. They made me bust a gut everywhere for a good solid 45 minutes. 45 minutes we talked, and it was hilarious from start to finish. Even there was a little bit of intro stuff, a little bit of stuff that I was doing before the recording that we were talking about, and it was just interesting and just super funny. Just really, really a couple of great kids. Obviously all these guys I'd love to have back on at some point in the future, but let's let's keep going. Episode 4 was, I think, I claim that episode 4 is my most underrated episode for sure, hands down. Now, originally I was gonna have another guest on. It was supposed to be Christian. It was supposed to be Gwen. It was supposed to be the two, quotation art kids. And the reason, I think she was busy that night, or I think she couldn't come on for whatever reason. So I was like, it was just Christian, and this was my first singles episode besides like one of my best friends. Nico and I go way back, so we're comfortable being a little bit alone, a little bit sensual, a little bit real. But me and Christian, we're fresh to the fight. So truth be told, I was a little nervous. I was concerned because I've never talked to Christian. Really haven't. He's been in one of my classes before, and he's in my art class kind of. He does I forget what it's called, like help, like a teacher aid or something like that, or maybe it's independent study, one of those two. But I never really talked to the kid, so I was like, oh boy, here we go. 45 minutes of it's gonna be bad conversation. It's gonna be boring. He jumped on. He was incredibly excited. I've never seen someone this excited. He was super excited to start talking. He flowed very naturally. Uh, he flowed like a girl once a month. Really good. He spoke with charisma. He spoke with confidence. He spoke about things that interested him, but he was not afraid to talk about other things. He wasn't always trying to get the conversation back to one point. He's very ready to speak, a true conversation. And overall, it was about a 48-minute episode. I'm looking at it here, 48-minute episode of a just phenomenal conversation. Oops. And it was actually so good that we recorded the 48 minutes. And I was like, I gotta cut you off here. People don't have the attention span that long, so we got to cut you off here." And he goes, "Okay." And I finish the recording. I tell my guests afterwards. I say, "Hey, nice job. It was a lot of fun. Good job." And he's like, "Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Do you want to just do it again? Want to just do another one?" I was like, "You know what? I do. I would like to do another one." It was because the conversations were so real and so natural that I had no choice but to do an episode 2, which actually would later go on to be episode 9 of the podcast. Let's go on to episode 5. Oh my god, episode 5 was easily takes the cake for the weirdest episode. This episode was with Jackson, Jake, Matt, and Gianni, and things were a little too a little too natural, if you know what I mean. Oh boy, this was a fun episode to do. This one I was they I don't know if they I think I we have to have said in the episode, but they recorded that whole thing in a shack, one big shed that all 4 of them were sitting in, just hanging out, doing what 4 dudes in a shack do. And you're not gonna if you go back and listen to the episode doesn't you don't hear this, but I had to go through that was the most editing I had to do for any podcast because there was not 1, 2, but there was probably 10 or 12 moments of just silence where I'd ask a question and they'd go, "What, what did he say? What did he say? What? Huh?" I'd have to repeat the question. And they'd have to go back and have to repeat the question. They'd go, "Oh yeah, okay." But I'd remove I probably removed a good 10 or 15 minutes of just silence. Super funny though, incredibly funny episode. Great kids, really, really, really genuinely good kids. Number 6. Oh, number 6 was a good time too. Was with Josh, Will, and Nate. 3 guys that are doing their own podcast. Actually, go check that out in the description. By the way, big things are coming. I've been talking to Noah. Big things are coming to that. But no, absolutely. So that was a lot of fun. Will, Nate, and Josh. They're very clever kids, very smart kids. There's smart people that that are really good in physics in class, or they're really good in math class, or they do their homework every night and they do it exactly right. But it takes something to be on the fly clever and on the fly smart. And Will said something. I remember it right now. We were talking about Razor scooters, and I was telling him how my parents are divorced, and my mom's house, I used to wait for the bus, and I used to play with my scooter, and I'd jump up, and then the scooter would hit me in the shins, and then it hit me all over the legs. And I did this every morning. I did this so often that my legs were bruised, terribly, terribly bruised, just deep, dark blue and purple. And I'd go down to my dad's house, and my stepmom would be like, "Oh my God, what's up in your legs?" Be like, she's like, "Oh, is your mom hitting you?" And I was like, "No, it's my Razor scooter." And then Will said, and that was me telling the story. Will wasn't actually there. And me telling the story. Then after that, Will says, "Your mom's name's Razor Scooter." So thinking back on, I'm cracking up. Oh, it's not even like it was funny. It was very funny. But it was just more clever and more smart than anything. It was. I wasn't even done with the story, and he already had that out of his mouth, and it was so on the fly and so respectable. Like it was super interesting. Um, and then Josh and Nate were awesome. And then Nate had a ton of stories I didn't know about, and same thing with Josh. Josh is a really great guy. Really great guy. Oi. And so that was episode 6. Episode 7 was a lot of fun too. Was with Olivia, Rachel, and Emily. And this one was something I didn't really see coming because so we sat down to record. Olivia, Emily, and Rachel, we all sat down to record, and I do this all on Skype, a little behind the scenes. I do this all on Skype, and Emily's wasn't working for whatever reason. We couldn't get her account. We couldn't invite her to the party. It just wasn't working. So we're like, okay, it's unfortunate, but I guess I'll have Emily on another episode, like her own episode, kind of to make up for it. So Olivia was fine with her Skype. Rachel's was a little bit buggy, but she went in her bathroom and just lied in the bathroom. She just lied in the bathroom floor for like an hour when we recorded it. And okay, we're all good. All the tests, all the sound checks, and we go and record it. And about 10, 15 minutes into it, we hear this cracking, this space sound, And then boom, it's Emily just going, "Hey, what's up?" We're like, "Oh my god!" She just popped into the Skype call, and she did the rest of the interview, where it apparently worked. I guess it worked, But it was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun talking about the future and talking about people's plans, because you know everybody listening right now is a kid. We're all we're children. We really are. We're children. Whether you're 16 or 18, 18 years old, I'm an adult. I don't care. You're a child. I don't care if you drive a car. I don't care if you have a job. I don't care if you pay for your pay for your own gas. Whoa, we're children. The mindset of children. We've no experience. I don't care if you've flown across the country to California. I don't care if you've taken numerous trips to Europe or have seen many different people. That's great and that's awesome stuff. But we're children at heart, and we're children in our brains, and it's going to take a couple of years for us to really go beyond that. And something cool I've been noticing, about doing this podcast and about just getting older in general is I'm definitely a growing more cognitively. I'm aware that there's more than just me in the world. There's other people, and that doesn't just mean that there's other people playing World of Warcraft and Fortnite and all that stuff. No, it's other people that are doing completely the opposite of what I'm doing, or kind of what I'm doing in a different degree, or don't even speak the same language as me, or don't even speak a language that I know of, and they don't. I'm not speaking a language that they know, and it's all incredibly different, incredibly vast, and it's so mind opening. And that's something that I think I have a grasp on, but I have no clue. And everyone out there, that's really what I'm trying to do this podcast. The base of this podcast is to know, what's on your mind. What are you thinking of? Because you're thinking different than I'm thinking. And I'm incredibly intrigued. I really want to know what you're thinking. How did you get to that conclusion? How did you form that hypothesis? And all this is like sciencey and psychological and that stupid nonsense, but this is how you think. You know, you go to sleep at night, and that I say that good 30 to 40 minutes. For some, maybe it's like 5 minutes for others before you fall asleep, where you're just kind of lying in your bed. You just put your phone down. You're lying in your bed. You're lying on your back, just looking up at the ceiling or the bottom bunk of the top one, or I don't know, whatever you're at, the car, wherever you're sleeping, and you're just thinking. And maybe it's good thoughts, maybe it's bad thoughts, maybe it's thoughts about you, maybe it's thoughts about your friends or your family, what you had for dinner that night, what you want to have for dinner tomorrow, a crazy story that you're thinking up, comebacks to a fight you lost in school, or, how some teacher pissed you off or really made you happy, or, whatever, whatever, whatever. That 30 minutes is my favorite 30 minutes in the world. I love that. Every day, I'm so excited to get in my bed, not because of sleeping. Sleeping's awesome, sleeping's fun. Not because of the YouTube videos I watch or the book I read at night, but it's because I get to put the book down, turn the lights off, open the window, and just think. And it's awesome. It's great. It really is. It's awesome. Whoa, sorry there. But it's awesome. So that was so that was episode 7. Episode 8 was with Kate Nicole, and that was a really fun episode. That was actually the longest episode, 59 minutes. That was a lot of fun. That was a fun episode to do. Again, they're a couple of crazy chicks. Really great time spending with them. Very funny, very 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 real people. They're very much. It's funny seeing them now, because if you ever watch a movie and the movie's about like the 70s, and you look at the high school kids in the 70s, and they're like, hey, hey muchacho, I don't know, 7, hey muchacho, let's go smoke some cigarettes in the bathroom, and they go and they get in their, their disco inferno afros and their big leather jackets, and they hop in their cruisers, and they go down the hall, and they go down the road, and they're listening to Led Zeppelin, like, oh, whatever the stereotypical 70s teenager is. You look back on it and be like, oh, that's very 70s, or same thing for 80s, or 90s kids with the whatever. It's funny seeing Kate and Nicole, because they're very 2010s teenagers. Like, in 20 years, look back at pictures of them, or look back to this podcast, and you'll be like, yeah, they're from 2010. That's pretty much about right. But for in the greatest way, I think it's awesome. It's super cool. So episode 9 was another episode of Christian, and that was the continuation. That was again a lot of fun, really great time doing that with him. And fun fact about this podcast, actually, that's a little tiny little tangent. This podcast is actually had 2 fully recorded, unreleased episodes. The first one was with 2 dear friends, Sam Regan and Casey Blair, where I recorded the episode about 40 minutes, maybe 30 minutes long. And I was like, okay, thank you guys, thanks so much. And I went back to look at it, and it just wasn't very good. The audio was terrible. We were all doing it over like Apple headphones or something like that. The audio was terrible. The conversation was a little bit boring, a little dry. Absolutely my fault. I should have been giving them better questions. I should have prepared better than I did. I didn't really have much direction, and I don't really have the confidence to, just sit down and have a half an hour cup. I mean, listen, they're my best friends, and I still didn't have the confidence to almost take control and take the lead. And doing this podcast, I've definitely been watching more interview shows. I've been watching a lot of Conan interviews online, and Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon, and the King. Oh, this guy is the best. Is Howard Stern. This guy is a savant. This guy's been doing it. If you don't know who Howard Stern is, you don't know media. You don't know Hollywood. You know Cardi B, you know Migos, you know whatever Complex at the YouTube channel, Complex. You know all that stuff. Yeah, you don't know anything if you don't know Howard Stern. Howard Stern is the original. Howard Stern's been doing radio for probably, God, I want to say 40 years, 30 years. He started years and years ago, and he was incredibly edgy, incredibly racy, incredibly, edgy. I guess it really is the best word for it. He's very different. He was just a tall, wisecracking Jewish guy, a New York guy, New Jersey guy. He would just get on the radio and he'd call people up and he'd make these crazy phone calls. He'd do prank calls to pizza shops. So like, there's an Indian guy that's in charge of the pizza shop, and he'd call him up. He goes, "Oh, is in-lost here? Who? Oh, Turby in-lost here. Is Turbin lost here? Oh, you guys!" And then he'd hang up the phone, and they'd call him back, and they did the same thing, and it was super funny. And now he moved eventually over to Sirius XM, and he was the first guy to do Sirius XM because he was the king of FM radio, but it didn't really have the reach that Sirius had. That if you don't know, FM radio is whatever you have in the car, and Sirius XM is satellite radio. So it's accessible across the country, where FM is a little bit more grounded. But the idea is you'd have to pay for satellite radio, and it maybe didn't have a lot of people going on it yet, so it's like, I don't really know if it's the best idea. And he said, you know what, my show is incredibly successful on FM. Yeah, I'll take a gamble, I'll take a risk. So he went on. He was the first show on satellite, and it became a boom. It exploded. It became huge. And everyone really thanks him for it, because he really was the reason why. It really was the reason why that satellite radio blew up. And you can make a case that satellite radio blew up, and it was the precursor to things like Spotify, SoundCloud, a lot of these internet-based services. But mostly Spotify, and mostly Pandora. Sirius XM radio was the precursor. And that only happened was because of Howard Stern. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of neat. So that was one episode with Sam and Casey. And another episode that was unreleased was with Levi Abbott, dear friend of mine. And don't be worried. In the future, we're gonna record some more of these episodes. Definitely getting Levi on. Definitely getting Sam and Casey on. But so we sat down one night. Thursday night. We said, let's sit down. Let's take an hour. He's over there at UMass Amherst right now. Just transferred over. And we sat down. Got him on Skype. We were chatting a little bit. Oh, this is going to be. He's a super talented speaker. He is the charisma of like Donald Trump. He can speak about anything. Speaks to everyone. Speaks to anyone. It's so interesting to see this guy talk. So he sat down. We started the Skype call. We were talking a little bit, getting things all set up. He was laughing. I was laughing. Just a fun time. So okay, let's start recording. So okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, hi, how you doing? Ready the Rainy Podcast. I'm your host. Blah, blah, blah. So we start talking. We talk for about 20 minutes. We talk for another 20 minutes. We talk for another 10 minutes. Probably 15-minute recording. And it's super interesting. He talks all about his time at Mass Maritime, and then he didn't have the major he wanted, so he transferred over to UMass, and his stories growing up, and living in Foxborough, and what that means to him, and where he would go in the future, and all these super interesting topics. It's like, wow, that's super cool. It's awesome, super cool. Hey, it's been 15 minutes, so I'm gonna cut you off here, but definitely love to have you on an episode in the future. So, whatever. Thanks so much. Leave. Leave. Is like, okay, goodbye. Catch you later. So he left, and then I ended the recording. I went to go open it up, and I checked the file where the recordings always end up to, and it wasn't there. I was like, what? So I go to the software that I record with, and I check it, see if it's all fine tuned. Okay, looks good. Looks good. Looks good. Oh, what's this? Oh no. Update required. Oh no! I needed to update it. I had to update it. I had to update the freaking software before I started recording, but I didn't, and because of that, it didn't record. That was probably about an hour and a half of just conversation. An hour of it podcast, but an hour and a half of conversation just down the drain, and it sucked. It just sucked, dude. And that's always tough, and it's tough for it's unfortunate for the people listening because that's an episode that they don't get to hear. I was pretty proud of it. It wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but I think it was a lot of fun. I think it was pretty good. But that's an episode that they're not gonna hear. But it really sucks for me and Levi because that was kind of his first introduction into interviews. And so there's a lot of beginning questions that I ask people. If you go back and look at these podcasts, I ask people a lot of the same questions, but I can get away with it almost because it's new to them. I can say, "What are your plans for the future?" And they go, "Oh, listen, we've all heard it a million times. What are you going to do in the future? Oh, college, and then get a job, and get married, and be a millionaire, and whatever, whatever, whatever." But you know, I've been trying to ask it in a certain way. I've been trying to squeeze it a certain way where it's a little bit more interesting, and they've never really heard it before. And if they did, whatever, we'll branch off in other parts of the conversation and find our niche there. But so I asked Levi, what are your plans for the future? He told me his plans. I said, what are you going to do in college? And that's all the easy stuff. And I can say, what about this and this and this? And there was almost the easy questions to get out of the way. And that filled up a good, 45 minutes conversation. Now, luckily, it was great conversation. It was really interesting conversation. And the trick to the questions is I don't care about your answer. Nobody cares about your answer. Nobody really cares about, what are you going to do in the future? Because, listen, we're all friends here and we want you to succeed. We want you to do well. But we want to hear something interesting. We want to get something that we've never heard before. That's the whole point of conversation. It sounds selfish and it sounds crude, but really the point of conversation is for both parties to walk away from the conversation with something gained. That's why we talk. And there's obvious examples of this. Hey, when's the basketball game? Monday. Okay, cool, thank you. That's it. Walks away. A little bit of a one-sided. You can say, oh, so say one kid has a track, say one kid has a basketball game, the other kid's going to go, hey, what time's the basketball game? Oh, it's at 5. Okay, that kid's getting the knowledge of when the basketball game is. Oh, are you going to go? Yeah, I am. And then the basketball player is going to get the knowledge that the kid's going, so they both walk away with their questions answered. And that's why we talk, that's why we converse, because we care about the opinion, other people's opinions, not because we value their opinion, or I'm sorry, not because we care about their opinion, but because we value their past experiences. We know that they've gone on and lived, as rich as lives as we did, and they've experienced things, different than we have, and that's important knowledge. That's useful knowledge to acquire. That's why we converse. So because me and Levi lost our conversation, all that easy stuff is gone and out of the way, and all the jokes and fun times that trickled off as a result of that are gone. And so it's going to be tough for me. It's going to be hard for me to find some questions that, almost introduce Levi to you guys while also being interesting to Levi and I still, that aren't just the repeat of the questions that we lost. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes from there. So we've been talking for about half an hour now, and I think it's been pretty good. I think I'm going to go on for a couple more minutes. The podcasts have, if you've been noticing, they've been increasingly getting longer and longer and longer. It's the first episode with Nico was about 35 minutes, and the reason for that was because I just wanted to get done with it. I just wanted to be done with it. I was like, I can't stand this kid anymore. I got to get out of here. Um, and I think again, it was obviously my fault. I didn't have the questions prepared, but as I go on and on, I've been gaining more confidence how to speak with people and how to talk to people like this and this and this, and I can have longer conversations. I can carry a little bit more of a conversation. I can ask a little bit better questions. Now, listen, I'm not good in the slightest. I'm no uh, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon in the slightest, not even at all. But I've been picking up on little things, little social cues, little social scripts, and how to get in there and how to work a question a little bit right, and what people's interests are, because people love talking about themselves. That's why I could talk for 30 minutes right now, because I love talking about myself, and you love talking about yourself, and people just like, almost recapturing the best parts of their lives and talking auditory form. For a good reason. Again, like I was saying earlier, people get things out of conversations, and if you can compact them into interesting little bits, it'll cause people to want to talk to you more. So talking to yourself is good. If you ever see someone walking down the hallway talking to themselves, good for them. They're improving themselves. It's good. Or they're crazy. Whatever. One or two. One or the other. But the episodes have been getting longer. I started episode 30, and again the Kate and Nicole episode was about an hour long, and oof, that was a doozy. That really took the wind out of me. That was a long one. But the plans for the going ahead in the future, try to reduce the episodes a little bit. Longer side 45 minutes, lower side 35 minutes. In between that time frame, I think is pretty good. Other than that, I'm thinking about. No, this is not final. It's a little tough actually. I'm thinking about making a hand drawn uh, thumbnail for each individual episode. So I guest on. I'll sketch them out real quick and throw them on the thumbnail. I think it'll move to once a week for the episode for the podcast, maybe twice a week if I'm feeling frisky, but most likely once a week. I think would cover it pretty well. I might get some episodes backed up and stored, so I don't have to record every week. I can just record 3 or 4, over the course of 3 nights, and then it's almost a month of recording. That's pretty cool. And all in all, I've been having a pretty fun time with it. Again, I know we had the hiatus, and that was a little bit of a little bit of a setback, but absolutely we're back on the saddle, ready to start things again. I really want to thank uh, all you guys out there that see me in class and they go, oh, hey, I saw the episode last night, or when are we coming on? Awesome. That's the coolest thing in the world. It's just cool because we're moving on. We're all moving on. 2 more months, 50 days left. You know, you're gonna hang on to your best friend in the world, maybe maybe 2 or 3 other guys from high school, and then everyone else we're gone. We're not here anymore. Uh, you know, and I know the general consensus of our the senior grade of Foxborough High School is a little less than desirable. I ask some people, oh, we're pretty cool, but there's a lot of losers in this grade. Okay, then I go ask them, what do you guys think of the grade? Oh, you know, this grade's just a bunch of jerks. But we're good kids. We're all good kids. I think there's probably 2 or 3 bad apples amongst us, but for the most part, I think we're all really good kids, trying to get along, having a fun time while we're at it. And you're gonna miss that when you're gone, when you're in college, when you're in the military, when you're in your job, when you're wherever. We're gonna miss that. And you've heard it a million times, but make the most of it while you're at it. So for all you listening out here, if you take away anything, if you're still listening at all, oh my God, if you take away anything, go out and just appreciate the kids you got. Appreciate the people around you because they're not going to be there very much longer. Get what you want out of them. Tell them how you really feel. Say, listen, I always thought you were a pretty cool guy. Wish we could have hung out more. Listen, I thought you were a pretty cool girl. Maybe we could have gone on some dates. Whatever, whatever. Go, just be truthful. Because in 2 months, it's not gonna matter. It's gonna be irrelevant. Well, that's about 35 minutes, and I think I think that's a good place to end it. This is gonna be the first episode where I don't do that stupid gorilla question, and I'm considering not doing it. I'm not doing it because my 2 cents has kind of been sprinkled in between all 9 other episodes, and I'll consider doing it the other episodes. Maybe I'll think of a different question. Maybe no question. Maybe a new question every time. Who knows? Who knows? We're doing it live. We're doing it real. Well, anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you're still listening, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. If you're watching this on SoundCloud, leave a like as well. And yeah, I will see you guys later. Bye.